Sonic is cool. Sonic is love. Sonic is life. But Sonic is single player outside of racing games. Or is he? Before the Boost games, minus colors for some reason, most Sonic games actually had a multiplayer mode. Or at least function. So now I'm gonna go through most of the games and tell you about them. I will not be going through all the games. I'll get to as many as I can, but I won't have every single game with multiplayer on here. Got it? Good. The first Sonic games with multiplayer. And they're not very good. Now, Sonic 3 is better than Sonic 2, but they both suffer from the same issue when it comes to the multiplayer. The camera only follows Sonic, so this leads to player 2 constantly being left in the dust as player 1 dashes on ahead. Then, you have to wait for Tails to fly back down before player 2 can play again. It's better in Sonic 3 compared to 2 because in that game, Tails is no longer just Sonic but with a smaller hitbox. He can now fly both himself and Sonic, which is useful for getting up to places, obviously. But it also encourages cooperative play, which is nice. Not to mention, but unless you know where all the big rings are by heart, you'll actually be slowing down anyways to find them, so player 2 actually can help you. Or just toss you into spikes, yeah, that too. But even still, 3 has the exact same problem. Unless you don't mind taking it slow in a Sonic game, the multiplayer in the main game for both is pretty underwhelming. I feel like it wouldn't be as bad if the screen was zoomed out or there was some kind of split screen mode. Speaking of, both of these games have a multiplayer versus mode, which is probably the better way to play multiplayer, as they do the second thing I mentioned, at the trade-off of not being able to play through the entire game with each other. Personally, I prefer cooperative play over versus, but that's just me. I understand that some people love beating the crap out of their friends. Sonic 2 multiplayer versus isn't terrible, just race through a few stages, but with Sonic 3 the multiplayer sucks in comparison, because instead of just having you play through a few full levels, it instead has these really shoddy custom-made levels that are really short and not fun to play. That's all I had to say on that though. And in case you're wondering, yeah, Mania is in the same boat as these two games. Better than both, but you know, same problems. If you even somewhat enjoyed the two-player versus in Sonic 2, then you'll probably enjoy this too. Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is known for not only being a fan-favorite Sonic game, but also having one of the best multiplayers. But is it Glaze? Please watch this video, I'm desperate. The multiplayer in this game is all about racing to be the best. Some would even say battle. You can choose between speed, power, and mech. What? I can't hear you! The speed characters is just racing to the end of the stage while trying to use your special abilities to slow down your opponent. All the characters and types have an attack move and a freeze move of some kind. Did I mention that you could play as dead characters in this? Why did they add this? I'm not mad, I'm just concerned. But yeah, just race to the end as speed characters. There's also some extra stages you could play only in two-player. And all the normal stages are ever so slightly changed. Not enough to mess with muscle memory, but enough to notice. Also, you could just homing attack each other if you're close enough, just in case your moves aren't ready. For the treasure hunting characters, you... That's right! Race to see who can get to the shards first! Your prize is... giving me your kidneys. And with mechs, you fire at each other, and whoever spams faster wins. This game probably has one of the better multiplayers just for the speed alone. Like I said in this video, the speed stages are the best part of this game. All the other stages are just mid to bad. So being able to race in the speed stages, which are, again, the best part of SA2, just leads to it being enjoyable by default. Not to say that if you like the other gameplay styles, you're wrong for feeling that way. I just don't like them personally and find them to be the weakest part of the game. This game has multiple different multiplayer modes. You unlock them through collecting emblems. All of them are races, but I'm only going to be going over the main one because I don't really like heroes enough to collect all the emblems for this. And also, the multiplayer wasn't even working for me anyways. The main one is a race between the two players through a piece of some of the main stages. Unlike SA2, however, there isn't any special multiplayer exclusive move, at least from what I found while playing. Though you can use your Team Blast to hurt the other team in the same vein as Chaos Spear or Sonic Wind. Most of the other modes on this tend to just be variations on racing, which is honestly for the better. A game like Heroes is not built for cooperative play, or even fighting for that matter. Most Sonic games aren't unless they're a straight up fighting game, but still. I'm not gonna go over the other modes for two reasons. One, I don't like Heroes enough to collect all the emblems just to play the multiplayer. And also, I wasn't even able to play the multiplayer. All this footage? Yeah, no, I was playing by myself for this. Me and my friend were using Dolphin to get a lot of the footage for some of these earlier Sonic games. And for some reason, only Heroes gave us grief, like it just wouldn't open, no idea why. So, as I said, I just ended up playing alone. This game is interesting because it kind of works like the classics. Kinda. So you can technically play the two players in the main story if you plug in another controller. And depending on what the character is, player 2 can control them, run around, and help you do stuff. You know, unless you're a
black creature.
But there's also a two-player battle, where you can play as Shadow Recolors and fight to the rated E10 plus death. Non-alien blood not included. For the main story one, me and my friend actually had a lot of fun playing this, since my friend liked doing evil shit as Sonic. Oh, but of course, like I said, this game is kinda like the classics, and as such has the same problem. It's hard for player 2 to stay on screen, and they'll constantly be left in the dust unless you want to take the time to slow down. However, this game isn't too bad with it, since you're gonna have to slow down anyways, even if you're playing by yourself, just so you could search and kill enemies. So, in a way, this game lends itself to the co-op play. Back to the two-player versus, though. As I said, it sees both of you fighting to the E10 plus death. This one isn't as fun as the main game, though. If you want to win, just spam the homing attack and that's kind of it. Also, why does the Clanker have the better victory animation? '06 is a two-player versus in the same vein as SA2. You know, with the running through the main stages that have been ever so slightly changed in a race. The problem with it is, it's '06, at least from what I can see. This is yet another game I wasn't able to play with my friend, but I got the general idea from watching this video. I mean, isn't that what you're doing by watching this video? Getting the general idea? Anyway, I could say more, but it isn't that interesting to talk about. What is interesting is how this game just makes me more sad than anything. Since I started playing '06 for this video, I found that the game was funny but also sad because this is what was released. Even if I'm happier it did end the way it did because '06's failure gave us Project 06, which is now one of my favorite Sonic games ever made. It does make me stop to think what the franchise would look like if '06 got like, I don't know, 17 more rewrites and 3 more years of development. Probably wouldn't have been as good as Project 06, but it also probably wouldn't have sucked. This game is, it sure is a game. The follow-up to the classic Sonic games has a pretty unsurprisingly similar multiplayer. This time around though, it's also online, but it doesn't really make a difference. You still share a screen. A split screen? God no, why would they ever do that? So if you don't know or just forgot, Sonic 4 Episode 2's main gimmick was the team-up between Sonic and Tails. This game is all cooperative play, so you might think that I enjoyed this one. Well, I'm asking, aren't I? Of course I didn't. So to remedy Player 2, or Player 1, it really depends on who goes further, falling behind, you are forced into a floating ball form that's stuck at the edge of the screen, and you have to tap A to get out of it. Once you do, if you can't catch up with your partner or you just die, then you'll be forced back into it. It also doesn't help that if your friend or whoever you're playing with wants to, they can just spam the team up button to grief. Between the first few classic games and this is definitely a solution they came up with. Honestly, I'm not even sure if traditional Sonic gameplay can translate into multiplayer without it just being a versus race mode. In order for a more cooperative multiplayer to work, you'd need to slow down the game and maybe have it be more about exploring. since all the players aren't always going to be on the same page when it comes to blitzing through a level, especially in a game where you have to make split-second decisions. Besides that, the team-up mechanic isn't even all that good. I know the footage on screen isn't my own, but I did actually play this a lot as a kid. It was like my second Sonic game, actually. And playing as Tails is just sad. The poor kid can barely fly. He's got like cancer in his tails or something. You and your friend could just tap the action button on the ground and boom, you're automatically moving forward. Don't have to use your brain at all. Overall, just a really bizarre game. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. Next game. Sonic Colors. Actually, I'll skip this one.
Me name Big Crackhead Sam, and if you skip Colors, I'm gonna rip your throat out!
Dude, you can't just... Sonic Colors is one of my favorite Sonic games.
Change it off the remix.
I deeply enjoyed the music, the story is peak fiction, and the multiplayer is the best in the series.
No. The multiplayer sucks shit if I'm being honest with you.
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games. I'm not just gonna say it does everything in existence. What do you take me for? A crackhead?
Sonic Colors, as fun as it is, has easily the worst multiplayer. I can't even tell if we're meant to play with each other or against each other. Basically how it works is you both race to see who can make it to the end first. Most of the stages are fully 2D and show some bits of 3D in there. If you homing attack or stomp on each other's heads, then you'll stun each other for a second. But you don't have to do that. There really isn't an incentive to race each other besides messing with each other, I guess. While the other games we agreed to play more of on our own time, Colors we just said we were never gonna play this multiplayer again. It just wasn't fun. The final game on the list, and I also didn't play this one. This time it's for a reason 100% in my control. I just didn't feel like coughing up any money to play this mid. Especially because I'd have to pay McDouble for me and my friend. And I don't know about you, but I'd much rather keep my money and spend it on literally anything else. Maybe on something more useful, like, I don't know, crystal meth? Anyway, Superstars is one of the first classic games to try something at least a little different from the previous classic games, by finally just zooming out the damn camera so there can be more room on screen. The screen could get especially wide since it isn't just you and one friend anymore. It can now be up to 4 people. By the way, good luck convincing 3 poor souls into playing this game with you, because that's more unlikely than the guy from my last video ever leaving this alleyway. The problem with Superstars is the fact that you have more players, and it can get hard to keep track of everything. And even still, because despite the screen getting wider, it still occurs. You'll have to click a button in order to be placed back in if this happens, just like Sonic 4. Although this time around, the camera seems to follow whoever may be in the lead, or maybe just if 2 out of the 4 people are in the lead, it follows the 2? I'm not sure. I never said I was a genius. Something I forgot to mention with Sonic 2 and 3 is the fact that 2 has it better when it comes to multiplayer in the special stages, since player 2 can actually participate. While in 3, Tails just has to sit in a chair in the corner while Sonic gets to enjoy all the action. I'm saying all this now because I forgot to mention it earlier, and also because in Superstars you take turns in the special stages. Player 1 swings, then player 2, and so on. This is definitely a way to do it, but I will forever prefer the way Sonic 2 did it, since that one is clearly the best for multiplayer. But I commend Sonic Superstars for at least trying to make it so everyone gets a shot at it. Oh, and I guess before I forget, Sonic 4 Episode 2 is good for it too, since it's just a more in-depth version of Sonic 2's. Overall, the game with the best multiplayer is probably just gonna go to, unsurprisingly, Superstars for actually trying. If not, then SA2. All the other games are either not very fun or kinda just lackluster. I hope one day we get a new game that actually has decent multiplayer that isn't just racing or 2D. Even if the only 2 real attempts at actual cooperative play in Sonic games weren't the best, I still respect them for trying at all. Again, if you want a cooperative multiplayer Sonic game, it's probably gonna have to be one where you slow down and explore. Or maybe just bring back the rubber band ring from Chaotix. I don't know, like and subscribe if you watch this whole thing or something.